Welcome back, Saints. Today, we are questing Ghost in the Machine and something to do with anomalies. So, let's get on with it. So I did kind of rush the process that I was doing here. Jumped from one portal to another, or one station to another, and then straight into space so we could pursue what we needed to do. We was asked to go to this sentinel-infested planet. It was pretty rough out here. We was instructed on how to collect nanos at this point, so it's evident that it's like the beginning of the game kind of part of the quest. So we got a bunch of nanites. We had more than what we needed, so yeah, outdated step in the quest, but I suppose it has to tell you what to do. So we went to our next location, which sent us to a space station with a pirate radio station right out front, and I nearly fell for it. Cheeky shit. Yeah, this korvax here then tells us how modding multi-tools work, so yeah, did that. Straight back to the ship, doing the next part of the quest, and I got a call from an unknown person in this case, just to tell me that I'm not alone. Then I got a call from Apollo. He's going to send me to go and infiltrate a korvax installation system to get some data logs so we can find out more about what Artimus was doing. So he agrees to send me there, and he tells me to be armed and be ready for it. So we boosted on over, and I encountered a walker for the first time. It was like nearly impossible for me to hit directly, so I landed and we walked over to it. Initially I thought it was only going to be active while I was in my ship, and then I realised just how big this thing was. Tried to blast the door open before we got there. A laser beam just like chewed out my HP anytime it even touched me. Sketchy. Yeah, we had to fix the terminal in here. Always loved when I had to do that. Nice. We then probed the technology of the area to find out what we can about Artimus and what he was doing. And we encountered a little critter inside the machinery, which was nice. And we was given one of them like personality questions of, do we kill it or do we feed it, even if we know it's going to die here anyway. We gave it some carbon and then we left. Next part of the mission revealed itself to us in the form of Apollo giving us a message. He asked if the fight went okay, and it didn't really go well, so I said no, but we did walk away with the logs that we needed. The quest then actually sent me to the anomaly to go speak to Nada about the data we discovered. Somebody was shooting me inside the anomaly, so we got out of there as quickly as we could. We spoke to Nada. He tells me, yeah, just speak to Polo about it. She probably knows something, or it probably knows something. Look at this thing. Look at it. Oh, it's hideous. Don't touch me. So yeah, we was instructed to go back out into space and speak to Apollo about what Nada said, or I think Polo said something to me, but I just didn't want to include the recording. Anyway, we were sent to the next part of our quest, which was here. I walked around this planet for about 20 minutes before I realised the freighter was in the area, so I got my ship out, or my exocraft, only to find the monolith a minute away, if that. 20 seconds. Actually annoying. These monoliths, for some reason, recognise us as our own independent species. I thought that was interesting. I wonder if that'll come up later. We drove back over to Maria's memory, because we were sent to some ancient ruins. Here they are. Middle of a superheated sandstorm. Love that. So we interact with the structure. And sure enough, we were sent to another location. It sent me to the most hostile world in the system to speak to another monolith. But this one looks really cool. Look at this thing. I was really curious if I could land on top of it, if it was actually a bowl or not, but no, it's just a visual. We were sent to investigate a ley line of some kind, which then eventually directed us to a portal. Even though I've got a portal already unlocked in the system, I was still sent here. So that was obviously agreeable. It automatically inputted the glyphs that we needed to go to. Yeah, so we put them in. Decided to head through. I'm sure it's safe. Oh, this place looks kind of cool. There's nothing to do here. I'm going to leave a marker here because I'm not going to get lost like Apollo. What? Oh wow. So this is Atlas. This is the Magitech that runs the Sentinels. I see, I see. It does look pretty amazing in here. Huh. So this is the thing that the korvax worship. It's just a really big machine. Listening to the way it's described as well, it seems to be broken. Was 1.9 trillion years since its last diagnostics. I don't know, I must have offended it or something, because it teleported me back to a random world. I had no idea where I was. Had to run for ages to find this, where my ship was as well. What a relief. I survived my encounter with the Atlas and returned to my ship. And I was asking myself why I was doing this, and of course, it was to rescue Artemis. That mysterious caller contacted me again, telling me I'm not alone, and it appears he's communicating from inside the system. So we decided to investigate. So I think my quests actually changed by themselves here, and I ended up following the instructions to go visit the anomaly. It was actually strangely active today when I was doing the recording, so that was kind of nice to see a whole bunch of people. It definitely shows you that there's more outfits to choose from than what you might initially seem. So just here, I was actually given some items, and I didn't notice at the time. I'd actually returned to my ship, left the anomaly before I'd noticed. Someone called Akira gave me some items. Spawning sack. Never seen them before. They upgrade your living ships, the amount of space you can put on them. That was cool. So absolute shout out to this guy. Woo 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 woo. Happy living ship noises. Back to the quest. So, we were sent to this signal echo. By the looks of it, it was a grave. It was Artemis's grave. Oh, you bastard, Hello Games. Artemis was dead this whole time? And he's been sending me signals from a dead program? Oh, you bastards. Now, I went back to the ship to process what I'd just learned, and was instructed to go actually speak to maybe Apollo at a radio tower. I can't remember who it was. Here we are. The radio tower. Oh, that's right. It was Null that I had to speak to. So this guy is now revealed himself to be the You're Not Alone person. And he asks me, if I remember correctly, my opinions on what life is. He ends up giving me this thing called a mind arc and tells me I can put Artemis's consciousness inside of this. I want to be able to ask him what his opinion is, but... Well, anyway, he showed up at the hologram to speak to me again, and apparently he's glitching. All he can say is "you are." Clearly the machinery's breaking down. It's strange that it reached out to me in the first place. Anyway, our quest took us to a new place. After building the mind arc, we were sent to another hologram tower. I'm still not able to ask Artemis how he would feel about this. So, instead of trying to negotiate, I'm just going to use the mind arc. This Null guy tells us that we can put his mind and consciousness into something else so he can live again. So, we take his word for it, and we head off. Our quest tells us that Nada or Polo might have something that they can do with Artemis here, so I head over to the anomaly. And then I see one of these crashed in the middle of the anomaly. Again, very unnerving. People are clearly bringing main world stuff in here. Good thing it's not a permadeath world or anything. So Polo was able to detect that there's something weird about my approach this time. And Nada instructs me that I can go put Artemis into the mainframe of the anomaly and generate an entire fake system for Artemis to live in. So I make the decision to take him over there, and I was faced with this. Do I upload him to a fake universe, or do I leave him to die? I suppose I'm gonna upload him. Although as soon as I did that, I was unsure if I did the right thing here. I mean, someone's consciousness isn't the same as their soul, but have I just put someone's mind into a permanent state of torture? So when I went to head back to Nada, the quest had shifted back over to the space anomaly again. Anyway, we jumped into our ship and headed back out into space, and Apollo contacted us. I tell him how I survived an encounter with the Atlas, and, of sound mind, he sort of acknowledges that it's a machine, and he tells us that we're lucky to have survived. Well, he asks us about Artemis as well, and I reluctantly decide to tell him the truth. Apollo doesn't seem too happy about this, but he relents and asks if he'll be happy, and I tell him I hope so. Apollo sent me more coordinates to find some monoliths. This one is to find a base portal. Again, I've already got a portal area in the system, but it sends me to a new one. Here it is. These portals look amazing, they always do. But this world has a sentinel infestation, and I had to repair the portal again. So after fixing that was tedious. We were able to collect the portal glyphs that we now have to send to Apollo, so he knows how to get to our world and we can finally meet up with him. I meet him at the Hollow Tower to communicate, and both of us are a little apprehensive, but I give him the glyphs. These portals are unsafe. And then we arrange to meet up at a new location. My coordinates send me to an observatory, and while I was at the observatory, I meet this korvax and decide to help him. We use the terminal here, and it sends us directly to our next location, which is strangely a crashed freighter. If I'm being honest, I kind of spammed through this dialogue because I didn't want to get munched out by the storm. Anyway, while I was in space, Artimus was able to contact me. He's absolutely convinced he's escaped his situation that he was in. I decide to tell him what happened and where I've placed him. Well, the smile on his face faded quickly, and I'm never going to forget that. I don't think I did the right thing anymore, you know. Getting back on track, we head to another communication tower to contact Apollo. But we actually get greeted by Null. This guy again. He tells us if we want to understand the universe and what's going on here, we have to learn the history of all the races. He sends us to, I believe it was a vykeen system first. So we head over to a vykeen system. I love the drive up. The fly up to a station's always nice. And I have a thing for the white and red theme. Very nice. So my quest sends me to speak to a vykeen cartographer. And he basically says, before he will reveal anything, I have to go learn about their culture. He sends me to one of their ruins, where I learn about the Herc and their relentless war with the Sentinels. Probably the reason why they ended up being a space-faring species. So, anyway, I return back to the cartographer and I ask him about their culture, and when I mention 16, he freaks out. That was weird. Well, anyway, next I was sent to, I want to say, a korvax system. This is an amazing space station. This is the most pristine, sterilized looking space station I have seen on this game. I didn't know the game could look this, clean. Artimus contacted me again, telling me that he had a dream that me, him and Apollo all met up together. He then asked me if I was the one that fabricated this world that he's in. I'm not sure how I feel about this. I definitely don't feel like I've done the right thing, but really, was letting him die better than fabricating a world for him? I should focus on the task at hand and keep myself distracted. So the cartographer here had sent me to a world where the data he wanted was found underwater. Tried to fight, ended up sneaking past some deep sea horrors, and we interacted with this terminal. It gave us something called a divergence cube. I love the water physics, but for some reason I hold my breath when I'm underwater on games. We returned to the cartographer and showed him the divergence cube, and he offers us some nanites. Things got really weird at this point because he then communicated through this nanite invasion of my biology. The korvax are broken machines worshipping a broken machine. It was sad. Next, we were sent to a Gex system. I suppose I've got to learn about them eventually. Let's go. We headed over to one of their systems, and we flew over to the space station in the area. Yeah, this looks nice. Definitely a nice one. Speak to the Gex cartographer. Hey buddy, see, unlike the other guys, everyone else wanted me to go research their old history, but this Gex wanted me to go help his people. I ended up actually accepting the wrong missions at the time, but I headed out back into space and Apollo contacted me, but he was acting a little strange. kind of like a pre-recording. For some reason, got distracted from the quest I was doing and landed on a planet near a recycling centre, so I thought I'd play around with some of the stuff. So I've left this in there for the people that like this activity, so they can see me screwing this up. This is cool though, so if I dump stuff in this corner, it'll just sort it for me. That's actually something I can appreciate. A flatbed chassis module for the Colossus. I wonder if that's worth investigating. Like, someone let me know if it's actually worth looking into. Metal and rubber goes into nuclear waste. That makes sense. And then I remembered what I was doing. I got back onto Maria's memory and we got back on with the task. I had to complete 2 missions for the Gek. I selected a cull 15 animals, and the second one was something to do with Hunter Pirate. There was like an undisclosed amount of pirates I had to kill here. No number came up, it was just waves of them, but we dispatched of them like it was nothing. We headed back to the station to hand this in, and then we went to speak with the Gek cartographer again. Okay, so this bit's about to get really weird. So asking about the Gek and their history and the first spawn, we actually learn about how the korvax became freed. And they didn't become freed. What they did was absolutely monstrously evil. The korvax committed seppuku over the spawn pools of the Gek and genetically graped the unborn embryos of the Gek to make them more of a korvax species. So the Gek never changed. The korvax genetically modified them so they're no longer the same species. Edited their neural networking and everything when they were still unborn babies. That's how the korvax became free. By genetically engineering unborn babies against the Gek's will. There was no enlightenment for them. They were just baby mutilated. That's disgusting. I thought the korvax were victims, but after seeing that, it turns out, no, both sides are actually just as evil as each other, and both of them are willing to do absolutely anything to preserve their people. It actually turned my stomach reading through this. What a bunch of monsters. I'm not saying what the Geks did was right, but anyone who thinks that what the korvax did was justified because of the actions of the Geks, you too are absolutely barbaric. Just saying. This quest is revolting, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. Well, getting back on with the quest, we were sent to one of these worlds again. We headed over to another communication tower to speak to Null about everything that I found out about the 3 species. So Null makes the comparison that because of what happened between the 3 species, it somehow affected the Atlas, or perhaps the Atlas has affected what the 3 species will behave like. We're in a broken simulation. So it turns out the coordinates that I sent Apollo were the correct ones, and it helped him get out of the little portal trap he was in, and he wants to meet up with me. For some reason, I forgot to refill my ship, so I had to summon my Corvette for the first time. You know, it's not terrible. It's definitely got Sentinel vibes. It's a big ship with big engines and a big hull. If any of the ships I own is a baddie, it's this one. She even spits fire out underneath her when she lands. What's going on here? This is where I'm meant to be meeting... This is where I was meant to be meeting Apollo. Right, I should have known. Just another program. I should have known better. I got my hopes up thinking I was going to meet Apollo, and the two of us could have explored the universe together, and it just turned out to be another program crashed in this endless matrix prison. Oh, Artimus, what have I done?